Everyone, it's Terry. Today we're going to talk about some basics on editing and embroidery. We'll go into selection 1 and let's scroll across and choose category 8. I like these carrots, and we'll choose set. You'll notice that this comes in at 6.42 inches by 4.23 inches. Let's go to embroidery and see how many stitches. It has 10,404 stitches, so keep that in mind. We'll choose return, and let's first go into edit and talk about resizing. The one thing I'll mention to you about resizing is that you can increase a pattern up to 200% or reduce some patterns up to 60%. But there's a limit in order to maintain the quality of a design. So if you increase it too much, then you're going to lose the character of the design. Let's look at it and zoom in first to see how this is stitched out. So you can see basically it's a variety of different fill stitches. We'll choose close, and the first thing, it will choose this icon here. When you select this icon, which has the arrows that are going up and down, and it's just a little square box, what this does is it will increase or decrease the size of the design, but the number of stitches is more or less maintained. So let's increase it proportionally, and we went up to 7 inches. And let's go over and look at embroidery, and you'll still see that it's about the same number of stitches. So we increased the size of it, but we really didn't increase the stitches, which tells me that the density of this design is going to be less. And you may not be able to notice it a lot here. You can see some white spaces in the design. But if you stitched out the two patterns, I'm sure you'll notice it. We'll choose close, and let's return, and we'll undo because we don't want to save those changes, and we'll undo again until we get to the point that we know we're back to the original size. Let's go back into size, and this time we'll choose the second icon. When you choose this icon, you'll get a question saying, is it okay to reset the pattern to its original size, angle, and position? And we'll choose okay. Now what happens when you select this, it is going to recalculate the number of stitches that are needed to resize it. So we'll resize it, and you'll notice that you can actually go much, much larger. And back, we'll get to the point that it's as large as we can get to fit into the largest hoop on the machine. Now let's choose OK, and let's go to embroidery, and now we have 28,000 stitches. So you see there are two ways to resize. The first icon will resize, but it will not change the density and will not recalculate stitches. The second icon will change the size, and it keeps the original density, but it does change the number of stitches. All right, we'll go ahead and return, and let's bring it back down to size again because I want to show you some other things with this. When we go into size, we can do several things. We can resize it proportionally inward or outward. So inward, you can definitely see how small you can go. And outward, you saw how large that we can get if we select this first icon. Reset resets it. You can skew a pattern from top to bottom. We'll reset it. And you can stretch it out. We'll reset that, and you can skew it inward, and we'll reset it, and outward. So there's some fun things to try. I just say whatever you try, stitch it out on the sample. Don't stitch it out onto your final garment because you may not like what you see. And reset takes you back to the beginning. The other thing you can do in this menu is you can also move. So this will move us back into the center position. You can see that. And then you can also move it as you can move in the move menu as well, up and down, left and right. And we'll go ahead and choose back to the center and choose OK. We talked about move a little bit. When you move, there is a position on your screen. So as you move up, you can see how far you are from center. We move to the left, you can see how far left of center you are. If you go right, how far right of center, and down, how much lower than center your design is. And to the middle, takes you back to the middle. We'll choose OK. Rotate allows you to rotate either by selecting this little red dot here. You can rotate it automatically. You can do this with your finger, but you can see that you can quickly rotate it a number of degrees. We'll choose reset. You can also do this in 90-degree increments or in 10-degree increments if you want to move it around, and as little as 1 degree or fractions of a degree. Choose reset to reset it, and again you can move up and down in this menu as well, and we'll choose OK. Now let's say that you want to duplicate this design. So while it's selected, choose duplicate. You now have 2 copies of the design. Let's go ahead and reduce the size of this copy. It's selected right now. We'll go to size and we'll shrink it down as small as we can get it, and we'll go ahead and select the first one. And even though I have a 9.5 by 9.5 hoop here, I can take this and fit these designs in the largest hoop. Now one of the things that I might want to do is I might want to flip this design, and so I'll mirror image it. And now I have 2 copies, one's larger than the other, and it's been mirror image. We'll go ahead and delete one of them. So we'll choose delete, and we'll go back and bring this design back to the center. So let's just move to the center and choose OK. Let's say that what you want to do is create some stippling around this design. It would be very cute if you had a kitchen theme that you want to quilt. So we'll select stippling, and now what it asks is which frame are you going to use. You can see which ones will and will not work. So we can see it in a 5x7, and this is an 8x8. Here's the 9.5 by 9.5. I'll go with that, and I can specify the spacing because there are a couple of things that I really don't like about this right now. I don't care for this look right here. So let's increase the distance away, and it will take it a moment to do the calculations for that because it's basically redigitizing in the hoop. Now I like this a little bit better than what I saw before. We can also change the spacing here. So the first one is the distance from the overall design, and this is the spacing between that pattern of stippling. And I've had several people ask me, well, how can I create stippling around my design? So this is the way to do it. There's another mode of stippling. It's called echoing. So we'll choose echo. And with echo, again, you get to specify the distance from your overall design and the spacing. So the distance is how far away the echoes will begin, and the spacing is how far apart you want them to be. So what we'll do is we'll increase the spacing a little bit, and we'll see what it looks like. Give it a moment to do the calculations. It takes a little while to calculate, and I really like that. So this might be what I want to save if I want to use instead of the stippling, if I want to use the echo. We'll choose cancel, and now we have our original design again. Another option that you see is to create a stamp. Now, I've created stamps before. If you look at my Design Center videos that I've created, you can specify the distance around the stamp. So if I want to, let's say I want to create a stamp that encompasses all of this design, I need to make it large enough so that they're touching. And once they touch one another, then what you'll see is it'll open up that space that is right here between these designs. So let me do that. And let's say I'm satisfied with that. Now I'll save that in memory. Now one of the things I'll tell you is keep a notebook handy. Write these numbers down in a notebook, because if you ever come back and you want to create it, you're never going to remember that the distance is 0.200 inches, and that's 0.200. If you need to say this in millimeters, you can do that by just going to page 9 and change this unit of measurement to millimeters and choose OK, and you can see that's 5 millimeters, approximately the distance away from this design. So we'll save it to memory, and now it says recall this from my Design Center, and we'll choose OK, and this is the point. You can go home and we'll cancel the pattern and choose OK and go to my Design Center. Now in my Design Center, we'll recall that stamp pattern. So to recall the stamp, we can select it here. So we'll select that stamp and choose OK. Now what I can do is I can create a decorative fill on the outside of this. So all I would do is I'll go into the region fills instead of the line fills, and I'll go to the properties and I'll select one of the region fills. And we have so many to choose from on the Luminaire. There are 30 of them. So I'm trying to pick something that I think would be light enough to go with these carrots. And we'll just choose 24 and choose OK. We'll select a color, and we can always change the color whenever we get on the embroidery side. But all I need to do is take the bucket and flood fill it. So now I can embroider this on the outside. So I have the stippling, I have the echo, and I have the 30 decorative fills that are built into my machine to select from. So it really increases the possibility. All right, we'll go back into edit, and so we've talked about size and move, and we rotated the design, and we've select mirror image. We duplicated the design. Now you'll notice some of these are grayed out, and the reason they're grayed out is you have to have another function. So if we go into size, and let's say we select this and we're going to increase the overall size of this design, and we increase it and choose OK. Now you see the density button is available. And now let's go to density. I told you you can increase it 100%. Let's go down to 80%. This is where it shut down. I imagine going up to 100% and then down to 80 pretty much blew it out of the water. So we'll choose OK. Now we'll go to embroidery, and you can see it's now 11,147 stitches. Let's look at the design to see what it looks like when we magnify it. And you can see there's some areas that may not have the best coverage, but depending on what you're doing, this might look good. If you're putting this on a tea towel, you might like that reduced density. Okay, the next icon that you see is an icon that allows you to create more or less an embroidered patch, and that's the way I think about it. So in the case of this, if I wanted to create a patch and put this, for instance, on the back of a backpack or or maybe this is going to be on an apron that I have, I can create an embroidered patch, and it will be sewn down with this design.